Whoops! It was just yesterday that the BJP rolled out its manifesto for the upcoming Bihar assembly polls. And it seems that other than just one or two topics here and there, the talk of providing a free COVID-19 vaccine to Bihar has caught the attention and criticism of maximum number of people. Twitter was completely flooding with hashtags and trends related to this particular move. It has been criticized by the leaders of the opposition parties, by eminent thinkers, and by several journalists in the country. In today's video, let's try to point out what these criticisms actually are, what these criticisms mean, on what ground do they actually stand. Is there any concrete basis of making these criticisms, or is it yet again another misinformed or say half-read approach that has forced all these criticisms forward? If we start to talk about a vaccine, the key issue that emerges is the fact that someone will actually have to pay for it. And the central government has already indicated its commitment to pursue a national vaccination drive in the country. However, now this drive will obviously involve the state governments to step in and ensure its implementation within their respective states. The central government, in cases like these or cases similar to these, provides for vaccines at subsidized prices, and the state governments then determine whether to pass it on with the subsidized price, reduce the price further by giving a further subsidy, or perhaps to distribute it to free for the people. Therefore, the state governments tend to have a very significant say in the implementation of programs like these. A good example to perhaps understand this would actually be the Ayushman Bharat program, which was not implemented in states like the West Bengal due to the state's objection of the same. Now, the question that emerged yesterday with the BJP rolling out its manifesto for the Bihar elections was whether a free vaccine is needed for Bihar or not. One of the criticisms has been on the distribution of the vaccine for free. Some people recommended that the money used to give out the vaccine subsidy would be better spent on infrastructure development in the state of Bihar. But isn't it necessary for the speedy restoration of the economic activity of the country that we attempt to vaccinate maximum number of people as quickly as possible? While the state of Bihar may contribute a small share towards the overall economic activity of the country, however, it would be wrong to leave out those who actually cannot afford the vaccine. Good economics too focuses upon the attempt at providing the vaccine at a cheap, affordable and accessible rate to each and everyone. The objection to the decision to give it for free is perhaps something that makes a very limited sense. This was just one part of the talk that needed a focus. Moving on to what the another allegation says, which is why the vaccine should be provided for free only to the people of Bihar and why not to the rest of the country. Now, to me, it again sounds like an attempt or a practice to manufacturing a propaganda or say manufacturing a controversy. There isn't any complex reason or logic behind this. It is quite simple to understand that the BJP announced its manifesto for Bihar as it's entering into an election, and political parties do want to make their stance and intention clear. Had there been election in the other states, perhaps we would have seen many other manifestos with the exact same promise of providing a free COVID-19 vaccine. Moreover, it is quite senseless to assume that the vaccine would actually be provided for free only to the state of Bihar. Many states would provide the vaccine for free, at least for the poor people, once the vaccine is ready and once the vaccine or vaccination programs begin. Now, there's nothing stopping the opposition-ruled states from promising a free vaccination drive in their respective states too. Another criticism to this is that the move is actually politicizing the pandemic. Now, this is actually not the first time all of this has been happening. The pandemic has already been politicized by the opposition in an attempt to derail every effort by the government to bring the economy of the country back on track. Just like the way they did with the agricultural reforms, which is indeed a very recent example of the same. And also, if issues like, say, healthcare, immunization, development become political issues, should not one be happy about it? Because they'll indeed force the future policymakers to be accountable on these fronts. This attempt to distort these statements underlines that the problems associated with the popular discourse which has already become way too misinformed and is obviously too busy in critiquing without actually gathering or without actually collecting adequate knowledge on these issues. In my opinion, the decision to provide free vaccines must be welcomed. It is a welcome start, and we hope that even post-pandemic, some of the issues related to, say, healthcare, environment, development, receive a greater political attention as they find a greater space on the political parties' manifestos.